What's up, everybody, and welcome to One Man's Opinion. And today we are talking about Stranger Things Season 4, episodes, I think it was 1 through 7, but it's the part A of Season 4 anyway. And I had to touch on this. I mean, I've been watching this show, since Season 1, and I wait every year for the next one to come out, or however long. Sometimes it's been a little longer than a year. But man, this show has hit, in my opinion, I think it's hit a new high. I honestly think Season 4 is the best season since Season 1. And I'm pretty sure I said the same thing about Season 3 when it came out. I can't really remember. I know Season 2 was not my favorite, and a lot of people didn't really like Season 2 just a whole lot. There are obviously some good things about Season 2. But Season 4 has been phenomenal. Honestly, and I'm just pretty much going to talk about all the things that I've loved about it. I'm not going to be able to rate it yet because it's not all out, and obviously they could, drop the ball or fumble the finish, whatever. Which seems unlikely. There's a lot of care and a lot of love that goes into this project. You can tell the Duffer Brothers really, they really care about this property a lot. This sort of world that they've built, this story that they've put together is somewhere very close to their hearts, and they're trying very hard. And first of all, let me talk about the scares. I wouldn't say scares, maybe just the extra bit of horror that has been poured into this season. And I would standing ovation, just round of applause, because it has been great. There's so much influence from other things. Obviously, Nightmare on Elm Street has had a huge influence on this season. You can see it everywhere from the main villain. You can see it with, I believe it was Dustin at one point, says something specifically about Freddy Krueger in an episode. Obviously, you had a huge cameo. Spoilers coming. Huge cameo from Robert Englund. That was completely awesome. That was one of those moments that you're watching and you're just like, is that, oh my gosh, what, you're just like freaking out. Because Robert Englund is just, I've made this clear on my channel before. I don't think necessarily that all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies are the best horror movies in the world, but I think Freddy Krueger is the greatest horror movie character that we've ever been given. I think there's a level of genius to Freddy Krueger that just isn't quite matched with any other horror movie character. And I'll leave that there, and we won't talk about Nightmare too much on this one. I do have Nightmare on Elm Street videos, though. You're welcome to go watch those if you want to hear my thoughts on some of those. Seeing him and seeing him in this role was completely insane. It was such a huge moment for me because it legitimately one of my favorite characters in any medium anywhere, certainly in the horror genre. So seeing Robert Englund was really, really cool for me. The new character, the new bad guy, Vecna, is dope, man. He looks sick. He looks so good. The hair, the makeup, there's no really hair, but the makeup team, the prosthetics team that put this together have outdone themselves. It looks really solid. Really, really good work. As far as other effects go, some effects are really, really good. Some effects are bad. There are times when everything looks great, and there's a couple of the broken bodies that, like the CG, they go up in the air and they start like twisting and breaking. Some of those looked pretty good. A couple of them looked pretty bad. It is a TV show. It doesn't quite have a movie budget. It's not the MCU or anything crazy, but not anything to complain too much about. At that point, there is something to be said for a show that is doing so well that you can give a pass to those things. So, like, if the show wasn't good and it hadn't been written well and the characters were boring, I would probably sit here and dog the CGI too. I'd be like, oh man, and there's times where the CGI looks terrible, because you kind of get in that mindset where it was just like, this is all bad. But because the show is so good and you're having so much fun watching it and you enjoy being with the characters so much, the writing and the direction are just so spot on for every character. And the care and the love is there, and it just takes you on a ride. As the audience, just watching it and enjoying it, it takes you on this ride. And so when you see those moments that, the CGI isn't great, or you can tell that they've got a blue screen or a green screen background, some of those shots where they're running through the upside down, you look and it's like, okay, the background doesn't look great. It looks like it's been painted on by Bob Ross or something in the background. Like, some of those moments aren't phenomenal, but you forgive it because the action. I'll give you a perfect example. When Max is running away from Vecna and he brings everything down, and all those rocks and pieces of the house are crashing down around Max, and she's falling and she's tripping, but she's running, she's trying to get to the exit. That moment of tension is so huge because they legitimately might kill Max there. They have been known to kill off characters that you care about, and one of the main characters' deaths I feel like is due. I feel like this season we're going to get a huge death, and I'll talk about who I think it'll be at the end of this. And so the tension is there for Max. You legitimately think, oh, she might not make it out. Maybe she doesn't die, but he might pull her back here. She might not make it. And you're so caught up in the tension and the magic of that moment that it doesn't matter if you watch it a second time. You can tell that the CGI, the background, doesn't look great sometimes. Like it looks like she's running on a soundstage and the back is just kind of pasted, especially at certain angles. But you're so caught up in the moment and how grand and great that moment is and the tension of it that you don't really care. And so, you can give passes to those few moments of bad CGI or bad background work. You can give passes to those because the story is so well done. Beyond all of that, the acting, I think, has stepped up a lot. The kids are all getting older, so their acting is getting better. Their stories are moving in new directions a little bit, and I really like the directions of a lot of them. Let me just say right now, while it's on my mind, Steve and Dustin, give them a spinoff show. If the both of them make it through the whole Stranger Things series, give those two. I could watch those two. I don't even care if it makes sense. It doesn't even have to belong to the Stranger Things universe. It could be an alternate universe where Steve and Dustin go around and they solve Scooby-Doo mysteries, and you just pull in maybe random other members. Maybe Hopper joins them for one, and then on another one you get, I don't know, anybody. You get Mike on another episode. You just pull in somebody random to hang out with them. But Dustin and Steve, bro, their chemistry, those two actors, holy cow. Every time they're on screen together, it's like popcorn, dinner and a movie. I'm just like, I'm glued to it. They are so entertaining. They're so funny. They are my favorite duo across the board, bar none. And that's saying something because there's some great duos in this show from season 1 all the way down to season 4. Like, there are some great pairings, but man, Steve and Dustin, just those two get me every time.
Obsessed with clocks. Maybe he's like a clockmaker or something?
Think you cracked the case, Steve?
While we're talking about characters, we have a new character with Eddie, and I think Eddie's a great character. I really think he's a great addition to the group. He really grows on you over time. When they first introduced him, I was kind of like, oh man, this is going to be, do we have to do this like the older nerds? And, I could do without him. We've got our group already. But I got to say, this guy has grown on me and has quickly become one of my favorite additions to the show. I think this guy is awesome.
Welcome to Hellfire.
I really like what they're doing with Nancy's conflict. She's kind of conflicted in herself because she still loves Jonathan, but their distance and their lack of communication has really put a gap in their relationship. Then there's Steve, and Steve is awesome, and he's grown up a lot. He's matured a lot. He's not the same guy that she dated, and there's still kind of latent feelings there. I like that they have, and she hasn't committed to it. She's not done anything wrong, but I like that they're giving her that kind of internal struggle. And so I think that that's a really cool storyline. I like what's going on with Max, and now at the end of the half season, I guess you'd call it. You've got Nancy now stuck in the Upside Down. We got the return of Barbara. All these things were super, super cool. There's a lot of twists and turns in this season. Look, there's so much to cover. But honestly, I didn't feel like there was a misstep all season. Even steps that they started to take that I was like, this isn't great, turned out to be all right. I think the one storyline or the one B plot that's kind of a through story that's going on throughout the story that I'm kind of just like, I wish this would go away. I don't really care about this. Is the basketball team, and I don't remember what this dude's name is, but he's the jock, and he's like, it's a cult. Eddie's a murderer. That guy. Like, I'm fine with the police like investigating it and everything, but you're going to have a high school student come up in the middle of like a town meeting and give this huge speech. And like, I don't know, the whole thing came off as like very cheesy, and it's like they really need this to drive the plot forward and to get like the townspeople up in an angry mob. I guess they need that. I don't know why. Maybe it's going somewhere, but I don't really care about that story very much. I'm much more invested in the Upside Down, what's going on with Vecna, the multiple storylines. We haven't even talked about 11 yet. The multiple storylines that are going on with our main cast, even Winona Ryder and Hopper and all them out in Russia. That's another one of the things that I wish I'm ready for that to be done. And I know that it's pretty much done at this point, that they're on their way out of Russia now. Or did they get out of the prison by the end of it? I know they were escaping. I know they had reunited. I can't remember if they got out of the prison or not. Whatever. That's finally coming to an end. But, I could have used that. I would have been fine if that storyline had ended, 2 episodes earlier. I would have been fine if Hopper would have just gotten out of there with his first attempt. Yeah, they build a little bit more intrigue. I guess it's a little bit more of a shock that he gets recaptured. I get what they're going for there, and they don't want him back in Hawkins just yet. I know the whole team's going to come together, even with his new Russian cop buddy. The whole team's going to come back together eventually toward the end. All the storylines are going to merge, and there's going to be the big epic fight, and all this stuff. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that a whole lot. But the Hopper thing has been fine, and I think he's a great actor. David Harbour, who plays Hopper, is doing a phenomenal job. I think the dude is one of the best, probably one of the best actors on the whole show, as far as just a all around. I know he's acting next to a lot of younger talent a lot of the time, but I think David's probably one of the best just tried and true actors on the show. He does a really, really good job, but I wasn't particularly enthralled with his storyline. I liked some of it. Some of it I was like, okay, let's get back to the kids, But having to mix in, I guess, some of the rare negatives that I found in the show, not even really negatives, just storylines that weren't the most interesting to me. But I know it's all culminating for something toward the end. I feel like 11 is the only group that I haven't really touched on much yet. And I know I haven't talked about Will, and I haven't talked about all of the group. I think Lucas's arc was actually really, really good. I thought they were setting Lucas up to be a prick. I legitimately thought, oh man, he's going to succumb to the peer pressure, and they're going to have to do this whole redemption arc later where, okay, Lucas is going to be a bad guy, but he was only trying to, he was trying to do the right thing and turn over Eddie to protect his friends, to keep him from going after Dustin, because there was that moment where it was like, okay, they know Dustin has had contact with Eddie. It feels like they're probably going to have Lucas send him after Eddie to try to save Dustin, then realize later he was wrong and have to have a redemption arc later. And I thought they were going to do this whole thing with Lucas where he was going to be kind of on the bad side for a little bit. I'm so glad they didn't go that direction. They pulled a 180 with him. He led them to that old house and then skedaddled. I was so glad they went that direction with him. We didn't have to go through a slog where he was like, I'm sorry, and apologizing all the time. I'm glad that he just got back with the group and he was like, nah, I'm straight. I'm with my squad through thick and thin, no matter what. I'm so glad, because I thought that would have been against character, because Lucas has always been pretty brave, and has always been a really strong character. And I like him a lot. But I like the direction that they took him this season. I like the whole squad. I like the introduction of the new guy, who is Jonathan's friend, the stoner pizza guy whose name escapes me. Y'all, I'm real bad with names, so y'all just going to have to forgive me. I feel like the last thing I want to talk about is touch on 11 and her story a little bit, because obviously she is kind of, if there was, I guess, maybe a main character, it is 11's story as much as anybody's. I was upset she had to shave her head again. That kind of sucks, just for the character. I know that was a hard thing. But they did have to get her powers back. And so it made sense for the direction that they took her. And so, I was fine with it all. It's not my favorite part of the season, but it was pretty good. I think you got a lot of character growth from her. I like that they got her back with the doctor, Papa. I like that they got her back with him, because there's a lot of tension there. And he's he comes off as, you want to believe that he's trying to help her, but he's always got a hidden agenda because he's a douchebag. I think that's a really good dynamic for the show to focus on and to kind of go back to. And I liked seeing the CGI making her young again was really good. There was no moments where I thought, oh, that looks bad. They did really well, and I liked the mirror, in the rainbow room that would flip it back to her being a little bit older to a little bit younger. So that was really impressive. I know they had a lot of old footage and stuff to pull off of to make a lot of that work. So the facial reconstruction and that sort of thing was probably pretty easy, because I'm sure they had a lot of old footage of her. So, there's a lot of good stuff there. As far as number one goes, Vecna, just at the last minute, at the beginning of the last episode, I was like, I had him fingered to be number one for a while. I had the blonde-headed guy. I had him figured out to be number one for a while. As the last episode is going on, as he's trying to get 11 broken out, I was like, wouldn't it be crazy if he's also Vecna? And so, like, I kind of figured that one out. But where they hit me, where they got me with a left hook, because there's a lot of twists with that character, and they were all so good and really smart. The writing, again, I cannot say enough about the writing for that direction of the story with 11 and this guy and him ending up being number one and all this stuff. I saw that number one setup coming. I was a little late on the grab for Vecna, but I kind of figured it out before the reveal came, so I was proud of myself for that. What I didn't see coming was him being the son of Robert Englund. I didn't see him being Robert Englund's son, and he was actually the one killing. And it made so much sense because they made mention of the dead animals, being found around the house. I never thought that the kids were, one of the kids was the one doing it. So that reveal was stunning to me. I was like, oh man, I figured out the one, and I figured out the Vecna connection, and I was like, oh, come on. And I was so proud of myself. I was like, oh, I've got it figured. They're not going to get one. These are great twists, but they're not going to get one on me. And then they got one on me anyway. I had no idea that he would be connected to Robert Englund's character. What was his name? Creel? Victor Creel? Is that right? But anyway, I thought that, man, the writing for Vecna as a character has been really stellar. I'm excited to see where it goes, where it all ends. If I had to guess, I think, and I hope I'm wrong, but I think Steve may die this season. This is my big prediction for the end of the season. I think Steve will die, and it feels like they're setting him up to a little bit. So I don't think they will set Nancy up to be the type of girl to cheat. Now, she may want to break up with Jonathan when they see each other again. But also that would be kind of hard because Jonathan's going to explain what all happened, and then Nancy's not going to have a good reason for it. And it just doesn't seem like they're going to take her character in the direction where she's just going to like up and leave Jonathan. Because Jonathan's legitimately a good dude. They just haven't been around each other, and that's put a big strain on their relationship. And then you got Steve. The intrigue between their relationship, either that or Nancy might die, but I just can't see him killing Nancy. That seems out there to me, right? It seems like one of those two will likely die. Maybe Nancy would be the better way to go as far as writing goes. It would be certainly tragic, and I don't think many people would see that coming. But it seems like Steve makes more sense. He's already gotten beat up quite a bit by those bat things. He's come back so strong and become such an amazing character from where he started. Like, he was always charismatic. He was always a great character to watch. But his arc and his change as a person from the beginning of season 1 all the way to where we are in season 4, it seems like it's complete. That's what worries me about it. It's like, where else can you go with Steve? You don't want to continue this back and forth thing with Nancy. It doesn't feel like that's going to be very interesting. What seems more interesting is that there's this kind of unspoken thing that everyone just kind of has to wonder what if with. Seems like there would be a lot more intrigue if Steve died and Nancy, we never really knew if Nancy was going to break up with Jonathan or not. Now she would stay with Jonathan. It would get explained. She'd probably be happy with him, but there would always be that kind of what if Steve was still around. And it seems like they're kind of moving toward that direction. I don't know if I have a good explanation for why I'm getting that feeling, but it feels like to me that that's the direction that they're moving with it. Or Nancy may die, and Steve and Jonathan will always both have this kind of she was gonna be with me, forever kind of thing. Like, she was kind of like Batman and Two-Face in The Dark Knight. How both of them felt like at the end of the day, Rachel was gonna pick them and be with them ultimately through the end, even though she clearly was favoring one more to the other. In their minds, Batman thought, no, she was going to wait for me, and Harvey Dent was going to marry her, and she had decided to marry Harvey Dent, but Batman never knew that because Alfred burned the letter. He didn't know that until the third movie. And so it's kind of like that, where they killed Rachel. You could leave both these men like she would have picked me in the end, and kind of have that tragedy there that neither one of them will ever know. But it seems like this love triangle can't continue. It seems to me that Jonathan is the least likely of the three to die. But it certainly seems like one of those three will die. I would say, to me, it's probably Steve most likely. Nancy second. I just cannot see them getting rid of Nancy, though. That seems crazy to me. And maybe if Jonathan comes in and has a bigger role in the second half, they might decide to kill him. But right now, so much attention has been on Steve, and it seems like his story has almost come full circle. That's a dangerous place for a character in a story where people die pretty regular. Okay, there's my big prediction for Season 4, Part B of Stranger Things. My thoughts on it. I know I missed so much. There's so much more that I could have talked about, and the great directions and the writing that they've taken this thing. And I didn't even get to there's so many characters. I mean, I'd be here all day if I talked about, beat for beat. So I just wanted to give y'all my thoughts and let you know how much I've enjoyed it. No rating yet. We'll wait till the end of it to give an official rating on the show. But let me know your thoughts and comments down below. What were your favorite parts of the season? Who are your favorite characters? What parts are you really looking forward to seeing the ending of? Like what story beat? Because there are like 4 separate stories going in this season with different characters. Which branch of the story was your favorite? Let me know all that stuff down in the comments below. If you disagreed with what I had to say, don't get mad about it. Remember, it's all one man's opinion. Subscribe. Thanks.